I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning, everyone. It is August 18th. Welcome to the Shawnee County Board of County Commissioners. I'm Aaron Mays. I'm currently serving as the chairman. I represent District 3. On my left is Commissioner Bill Rippon, representing District 1. And on my right is Commissioner Kevin Cook, representing District 2. Good morning to both of you.
Morning.
All right, Madam Clerk, first item, please.
First item is item 3, consent agenda.
We have a lot of items on the agenda, or on the consent agenda from last week and this week. So I would move for approval of that if there are no questions or objections.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item 4, new business A, County Clerk number 1, consider all voucher payments.
Okay, we have 3 sets of vouchers to approve today. I'm going to start with August 10th, 2022. Under Building Maintenance, Custom Sheet Metal and Roofing, Inc., $11,780 is for installation of new air compressor at Stormont Vale Event Center. Under Bridge Project, Finney and Turnip Seed, $16,750 is for the biannual bridge inventory and appraisal. Under Information Technology, paid with ARPA and SLFRF funds. CDW Government Incorporated, $13,360 is for Microsoft Surface for remote working. Under Park Administration, paid with ARPA and SLFRF funds. Chance Rides Manufacturing, $325,000 is for Gage Park Mini Train. Under Special Public Works, American Equipment Company Incorporated, $26,852 is for water tanker flush system. As of August 10th, 2022, total vouchers $1,361,267.13. Would it be the chair's pleasure to approve these all at once, or each
Yeah,
one?
let's just do them all at once.
Okay. Okay, now I'll do the August 12th, 2022. Under 911 Telephone, Motorola Solutions LLC, $51,855.43 is for radio network preventative maintenance. Under Federal Grant, paid with Shutter Venue Funds, Simon's Industry, Inc., $49,900 is for upgrade for alarm system for the Stormont Vale Event Center. As of August 12, 2022, total vouchers $909,129.31. Okay, vouchers for August 17, 2022. Under Debt Service, 911 Telephone Event Center, Security Bank of Kansas City, electronic fund transfer totaling $5,888,002.85 is for COP and PVC interest, principal, and agent fee payments. Under Equipment Fund, Alltech Communications, Inc., $12,000 is for the 707 Quincy surveillance camera equipment and installation. Under Facility Management, paid with ARPA and SLFRF funds, Alltech Communications, Inc., $20,000 is for 707 Quincy cable and data fiber, Wi-Fi, and camera. Under Sewer District, City of Topeka, totaling $162,036.89 is for the second quarter operation and maintenance of Sewer Districts 2, 6, 65, and the Sherwood Sewer District. Total vouchers as of August 17, 2022, $6,766,626.21. If there's no questions or comments, I'd move for approval of the vouchers.
I have a comment.
Yes.
Congratulations on finishing like the longest voucher report in history.
Thank you very much.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item A2, consider correction orders.
I'll move for approval of the correction orders.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B, Commission Number 1, public hearing to consider the submission of a sales tax ballot question to fund recreational facilities in Shawnee County and create a Gage Park Improvement Authority.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jim Krause, Shawnee County Councilor. Before you open the public hearing, I'd like to provide some information as an overview regarding the act that might answer some of the questions you might have, some of the questions that the public might have, and just basically provide an overview of the act and why we're here today. So let's jump into it. The 2022 legislature enacted the Gage Park Improvement Authority Act in sections 20 through 27 of House Bill 2239. I make specific reference to those sections in that House bill because it was introduced originally under another House bill, and if you go and you print that out, there are some subtle differences between what was originally introduced and what was finally enacted. So if you want to see what the final legislation states, please go to that House bill and review those sections. All right. The act allows for the creation of a Gage Park Improvement Authority. The establishment of the authority can only occur through the approval of voters. So what you're doing today is not approving a sales tax or approving the creation of the authority. What you are doing, if you so desire, at the end of this public hearing today, you will have the opportunity to vote whether to put this issue on the public ballot, and that's it. You do not have authority to approve the authority or the sales tax. Only a petition process or positive vote by the Board of County Commissioners can place the question on as a ballot question. And so what is the Gage Park Improvement Authority? The authority would be a separate governing board, separate from this board. The board would consist of the following: the director of Shawnee County Parks and Recreation or that person's designee, the director of the zoo or that person's designee, the director of the Children's Discovery Center or that person's designee, 2 members appointed by the Topeka City Council, and 2 members appointed by the Board of County Commissioners of Shawnee County, making a 7-member board. How is the authority funded? The ballot question, if approved, that establishes the authority would also authorize an additional sales tax to fund the authority. The sales tax must be specifically stated in the ballot question. The voters can approve this tax, the sales tax, of between 0.2% to 0.5% on all retail sales made in Shawnee County. Now, the ballot question that has been submitted per notice, per this public hearing today, contains the number 0.35%. There's only one question. In order to establish the authority, the voters must also approve the sales tax that's in the ballot question. How would an approved sales tax be used? If approved by the voters, the creation of the authority would occur and the sales tax would improve. It would be used to acquire, construct, improve, operate, equip, support, maintain, and develop eligible recreational facilities within Gage Park. Eligible recreational facilities under the legislation means Gage Park and all existing and future Gage Park facilities, including but not limited to the Mini Train, Carousel, and Blaisdell Aquatic Center, the Topeka Zoo and Conservation Center and all future Topeka Zoo facilities, and the Kansas Children's Discovery Center and all existing and future KCDC facilities. How would funds be divided? And this is an important distinction. So the new act provides that the following breakdown of the first 0.2% of sales tax generated for authority would be as follows. 22% would be allocated for use by Shawnee County for Gage Park, 58% to the Topeka Zoo, 15% to the Kansas Children's Discovery Center, 5% to be allocated for approved uses by the Gage Park Improvement Authority. All amounts generated in excess of 0.2% to be allocated for approved uses, the list we discussed before, by the Gage Park Improvement Authority. How is the ballot question created? By a majority of the Board of County Commissioners to place the question and the amount of the sales tax on the ballot during a general or special election process. So if approved today, you'll need to decide whether to put it on the ballot and what the sales tax amount would be. It cannot be in excess of 0.35%. That's what was in the notice for the public hearing. It can be less than that. The other process that can put this issue on the ballot is by a petition signed by at least 5% of the electors of the county who voted in the last preceding county election. What's the ballot question authorized by the BCC? The prior resolution adopted by the BCC authorized the following as required by the Act. The scheduling of a public hearing to be held today, a proposed sales tax rate of 0.35%, a directive that a notice of this public hearing and proposed sales tax be published in the official county newspaper and on the Shawnee County website for 3 consecutive weeks. We've done that. During today's public hearing, the issue of whether to create the ballot question and the amount of the sales tax up to 0.35% will be discussed and considered. After the public hearing is closed, the BCC must approve the ballot question by a majority vote and set the rate of the proposed sales tax in an amount that does not exceed 0.35%. If approved by the BCC, the ballot question with the sales tax included will be put before county voters during the November 2022 regular election. If the ballot question is approved by the voters, the authority will be created and the tax will become effective January 1st, 2023. If the question is approved by the voters, the authority will be created and the sales tax will become effective. The authority shall hold its first regular meeting before January 1st, 2023. Thereafter, the authority shall hold meetings at least quarterly. This legislation makes it clear that the authority is subject to the Kansas Open Meetings Act and the Kansas Open Records Act. The authority also must submit an annual report to both the city and the county. Finally, I want to talk about the county obligations if this matter is approved. The county must allocate funds to cover the expenses of the authority for its first 6 months of operation. The county must pay for an audit of the authority's receipts and disbursements periodically. The legislation doesn't say annually. It doesn't say biannually. It just says periodically. So it'll be up to this board to determine how often to request audits. The county must post the authority's audits and annual reports on the county's website. That's the overview of what I wanted to present to you this morning. Before we go into the public hearing and open that, do you have any additional questions for me?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Jim, thank you for the presentation. Just a couple of quick questions. First off, this is a county-wide sales tax, not just a city, but it is a county-wide sales tax.
Correct.
So it would apply to every good sold within Shawnee County.
Yes.
Now, does the city have like requirements for the audit or for the funding of the first 6 months, or is that just on Shawnee County?
Just Shawnee County.
And the 5% that is at the discretion of the board, would they have the ability to pay for the audits if they so chose?
I believe they would if they so chose. If they choose not to, then
It's back to the county.
back to the county.
All right. Those are the questions I had.
Sure. Okay, so it's our responsibility to set the level, the percentage.
Correct.
And say we set it at 3%, and 2 years down the road, we want to lower or raise that. do we make that decision, or who makes that decision?
Either way, either the board can make the decision, and it has to be done in the same manner. So if you want to raise it or lower it in the future, you have to go through this same process, which is to provide notice to the public of what that amount proposed raising or lowering would be, up to the limits or down to the limits put in the legislation, the 0.2 to 0.5, within that range. You'd hold the same public hearing process and then put that on a ballot. And the legislation is clear, it can be on either a general election or a special election ballot. We would determine at that time which way you'd want to do it, depending on the timing of when you consider that issue. The legislation also allows voters through a petition process to do the same process. Has to be in increments of 0.05 each time to raise or lower, but the voters can use a petition process also to raise or lower the sales tax, or to eliminate it completely.
Okay, I have a question. On the, on one of your slides, there was mention of the authority would be set up as of January 1st, I believe. But then there's also a second bullet point that says the authority would have to meet prior to January 1st. Those seem to be conflicting.
It's how the legislation reads. The legislators wanted the authority to meet prior to January 1st to have its first meeting.
Even though it doesn't exist.
Well, it'll exist. Once approved by the voters, it will exist and be formulated.
Okay, so it's formed, the authority itself, the body, is formed as of the vote and not as of January 1st?
Correct.
Okay.
The sales tax goes into effect January 1st.
Okay. Just one
That's probably
clarification.
the reason for the provision that the county must allocate resources to fund the authority for the first 6 months of its existence, because it probably will not receive its first sales tax allocation until the end of the first quarter of 2023.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
Yes.
Any other questions for Jim? Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you. At this point, I'll move that we go into a public hearing.
Second.
The motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We're in a public hearing now. I think, I didn't get a sign-up sheet today, so I think we're just gonna wing it. I guess we'll start off with maybe some proponents, and so if there's anybody wishing to speak on behalf of this bill, red pen. Not Bill, but.
Well, good morning, Commissioners. Jim did a great job of explaining the mechanism of the legislation. I want to talk to you about how did we end up here and why are we asking you to do this today. Soon after I joined the Zoo Board back in 2011, we began investigating the possibility of a public-private partnership where a nonprofit would take over the operation and management of the zoo from the city of Topeka. We visited other zoos, we engaged experts, we looked at best models, we had lots of discussions about what's best for our zoo here in Topeka. And after that nearly decade of work, I'm proud to say that last spring, or I guess spring ago, 2021, we finally completed that transition where Friends of the Zoo now oversees all functions of the zoo. And we've already seen many of the positive things we thought would come from that. During this decade of study, we also looked at the best funding models for zoos. Historically, and right here in Topeka, zoos have been funded by local property taxes, along with guest admission and capital fundraising. We discovered that many successful zoos have shifted away from that property tax to a sales tax, as it's a more fair method for local taxpayers. Zoos are tourist attractions that draw in guests from surrounding communities, and our zoo is no different, where almost 55% of our guests come from outside Shawnee County. While our community certainly benefits from the tourism dollars, right? From the tourism dollars that we get for those guests, to me, it still seems unfair that our local property taxpayers have to bear that burden of supporting our zoo. Knowing that a change in a funding model might be something that we would consider in the future, in our agreement with the city of Topeka, we put in a provision that if we ever get a broader tax base, that the property tax dollars we get from the city, the license and management fee would go away, would be eliminated. So to better understand public funding models right here in Shawnee County, over the last 5 years, representatives of the zoo and the Discovery Center, we've met and studied with the library and Washburn University. We also looked at best practices and models from other zoos and parks across the country, like the Kansas City Zoo District, Forest Park in St. Louis, which has museums and the park and the zoo, and then Akron, Ohio Zoological District, which has recently put something similar together. We took all these good things we learned, I took those ideas and we took them to legislative research in the State House and asked them to research similar models of other types of things that have been close to this across the state, and could they come up with some legislation, and they drafted that for us, and you just heard Jim walk through that legislation for you. Thanks to strong bipartisan support of our Shawnee County delegation, the legislation was passed and became law. Representative Ken Corbett, a Republican, was critical in seeing that the bill moved out of the tax committee, and Democrat Representative Jim Gardner worked really hard to make sure the legislation made it in the conference committee report that became law. And then thanks to the Speaker of the House and other legislative leaders, we got the bill past both chambers and to the governor. Since the bill became law, we did some polling. We wanted to see what the taxpayers in Shawnee County thought about this idea. Was now the time to do it? Should we do it at all? Should we do it in the future? And while I thought we would get good results, I was quite surprised with the strong support we had, especially, well, initially when we just told them about the concept, but then when we told them about the impact it would have on property tax, the fact that we had lots of visitors from outside come, the percentage of support increased even more. So given that strong support, we came to you and we asked you to put this on the ballot and let the voters decide. If ultimately passed by the voters, the burden on the local property taxpayers for supporting the zoo will be reduced, and capital enhancements for Gage Park and the Discovery Center would be funded by a fraction of a sales tax paid for in part by tourists and visitors to Shawnee County instead of property taxes. In closing, I just want to remind you what Jim already said, that your action today doesn't create the authority, it doesn't add a new sales tax. You're simply asking the voters in Shawnee County to go to the ballot box in November and let them determine whether those things should happen. What's more democratic than giving our local voters a voice in the process? Thank you.
Any questions for Fred? All right, thank you. Please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Danae Mosier. I'm the President and CEO of the Kansas Children's Discovery Center, also a resident of Shawnee County. I'm here today supporting putting the Gage Park Improvement Authority on the November ballot to allow our voters the opportunity to support the growth of one of the most treasured parts of Shawnee County, Gage Park. I've led the Discovery Center since 2015. In that time, I've seen firsthand the importance of our community's nonprofit children's museum. As a former educator and school administrator, I first came to love and respect the Discovery Center for the extraordinary educational impact that it had on our community. Since that time, I've seen our museum grow into a major tourist attraction, an economic driver, and an educational institution that's benefiting all of Shawnee County. The Discovery Center sees more than 95,000 visitors annually. 1 in 4 of those come from outside of Shawnee County. In more than 10 years of operation, we've seen over 800,000 visitors from 50 states and 23 countries. We're committed to access. We're committed to ensuring that all families can access and experience the Discovery Center. More than 1 in 10 of our visitors come free or donor-subsidized admission. Gage Park, where the museum is located, as you know, is a treasure. Everyone who lives in Shawnee County has a Gage Park story. If you've lived here 6 months or 60 years, it's part of our history as a community. The institutions in Gage Park have a long history of working together and collaboration for our full community. Dollars that would be generated if this went to the ballot and was approved by the voters for the Discovery Center would mean capital improvements. It would be opportunities for us to host traveling exhibits and create enhanced experiences. Those traveling exhibits have a demonstrated economic impact. We see a 25% increase in overall attendance when we have those exhibits and a 50% increase in out-of-state visitors while we're hosting those. The Discovery Center will continue to survive and thrive without these dollars, but we have extraordinary needs for major capital expansion and special exhibitions, which we know will generate further economic growth for the community. We've clearly demonstrated our ability to be good stewards of investment. I believe voters will find the minimal increase in sales tax to be a worthy and sound investment in our community's future. I ask you to allow the voters to have a chance to have their voices heard for the future of Gage Park. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Danae? All right, appreciate it.
Good morning. I'm Kent Pomberg, and I serve on the board of directors of the Discovery Center, and I also have the privilege of serving as their treasurer. One of the things that I would like to tell you about is how well we're doing financially and how stable we are. You know, since we opened in 2005, our balance sheet has never been stronger. We have over $2 million in money market accounts and cash accounts in 7 local banks, and we have over $200,000 in the Topeka Community Foundation investment account. Our total assets exceed $6.3 million, and we have 0 long-term or short-term debt. In 2021, we received over $675,000 in private donations and $450,000 in grants. We ended the year with over $700,000 in net operating income after depreciation. Our staff did an amazing job given the challenges of the pandemic. For this fiscal year, 2022, 7 months in through July, we are exceeding budget on admission and membership revenue, gift shop revenue. We sold a lot of dinosaurs, and we are exceeding budget for contributions, grants, and net operating income. This wonderful community asset is sustainable, and we don't need additional revenue for operations. We've proven that we're doing well financially. Every dollar from any new revenue from the sales tax would be used for traveling exhibits, and new programs. Most of those require additional capital commitments. So I'm speaking in support, and thank you for your interest.
Appreciate that. Any questions? All right, thank you. Oh, John. I know.
Just point at me when you're ready.
You'll go next, okay? No.
Let me make sure I have this handout. Mr. Cook, may I approach? And you two both have your
I've got one already, yeah.
one for the clerk. Because it's summer, I ran out without my coat, but anyway, I'll just go ahead. My name is Joseph Ledbetter. I'm speaking as a private citizen. I do have connectivity with the advisory board, but I'm not here to speak on their behalf. We did not pass a motion either way about this issue. So today, what I'm urging is that you would pass this at 0.2% sales tax. I've given you a handout stating how well the 3 entities will do with this. It also pays back the property tax that is now required of city citizens and businesses for the operation of the zoo. They would have a win of $1.9 million. I've gone over these numbers with Fred. I've gone over these numbers with Brendan Wiley. The Discovery Center would have over $1 million additional dollars, and Parks and Rec would have an additional $1.6+ million. This is based on what the projection of this tax would be today, and of course with inflation, those numbers would conceivably go up. Why am I supporting at 0.2 versus a higher amount? First off, it's prudent. It's reasonable. We are in inflationary times. There are a lot of constraints on budgets, and I understand that completely. And so I like the word empathy when we're doing public policy decisions. Empathy of what the public thinks, empathy of what the public feels. Not necessarily what we personally feel in our budgets, but what the people of Highcrest may feel, the people of Clarion Woods may feel, you know, if they go buy a brand new car. All of this is not a minimalist argument. Sales tax can be substantial. But I also said that I support up to 0.2. First off, because it's reasonable and prudent. We have a plan. The zoos told me they can absorb that money and use it very well. They don't have a plan above that. That's what they told me.
they can speak to that themselves. But I also know that Parks and Rec will benefit greatly at this amount. For a lot of deferred maintenance that's going on in Gage Park, and I'd like to see those things caught up, taken care of. And while we have money for some of it, we don't have money for all of it with Parks and Rec. Now, I also have in the statute as passed, as I understand it, and the copy I've got talks about it, and I had talked to county council about this earlier, not today, but another time, that above .2 is not allocated out specifically. It becomes an amount that would be allocated by the Park Authority. The Park Authority will not be elected officials. One of the things that I like in governance, when we're dealing, and governance always includes money and budgets, is to see elected officials have that interaction and that intersection with where the money goes and have that oversight. Now, I happen to also be on a board, I'll just sidebar here, called the Topeka Metro, which is the MTA board, and TMTA. And even though we're unelected, our budget has to go to the city every year. They scrutinize that. Last year, we cut admin costs by 13%, just saying. That mill levy is set by an elected body. It's not us. So what I do like is where we have that complete oversight and sunshine of elected officials looking at all parts of a budget, not just part of it. So that's another reason I support the .2% sales tax. Because it's also prudent and reasonable, I think it has a much better chance of passage than a .3 or a .25 or a .35. Even though it sounds like only a fraction of a penny, when you add up your budget and what you're spending over time, it can be hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Again, I'm not opposed to up to .2. And we do get a tax rebate, providing the city follows through, and that may take a resolution. We can work on that later, not here, but with them. But that money really should go back to the taxpayers that would be refunded by the sales tax. In closing, I urge you to pass a .2 sales tax. Put that on the ballot, not that you have the authority to pass it, but put that on the ballot, and that money is sufficient for the needs. That money will do well for all three of these organizations, and I think we'll see some good things come out of it. But it has to pass. And I think in these times of inflation, I would err on the side of being prudent and reasonable with the public, and I think there's a much better chance of a .2 sales tax passing than anything above that. Again, I said these things as a citizen, okay? But I do interact with these organizations. I have memberships with them, and I very much believe in their missions. I'd like to see them get some help, but I also want us to be prudent and reasonable with public money, especially in these inflationary times. Thank you.
Any questions for Joe?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Good morning, Commissioners. Okay. My name is Sean Dixon. I'm the president of Visit Topeka, and I'm here in support of the creation and funding of the Gage Park Improvement Authority. At Visit Topeka, we have the honor of working with dozens of area attractions to help bring visitors to the region. We do so through an annual marketing program that advertises Topeka in cities like Tulsa, Wichita, Kansas City, Jefferson City, Springfield, Joplin, and everywhere in between. As part of that annual program, we employ a third-party research firm to measure and survey people in those cities and deliver an advertising effectiveness study. One of the questions we track asks our visitors about which activities they participate in on their most recent visits to Topeka. In 2011, our visitors listed, or in 2021, sorry, our visitors listed downtown Topeka and the Topeka Zoo as the most popular attractions for leisure activities. Gage Park itself lands in the top 5 just behind Lake Shawnee. And the Kansas Children's Discovery Center rests in the middle of the pack just behind the Evel Knievel Museum and just ahead of the Brown versus Board historic site. Now this study measured 2021, a period still very much affected by the pandemic. Many of our attractions did not fully open until this year. Not only did we fully open, we hosted Topeka Dino Days, a collection of dinosaur-themed exhibits that generated more than 180,000 attendees to these area attractions. More than 150,000 of those attendees visited Gage Park, setting records for spring break visitation. And this is certainly worth celebrating, but it also showed us our limits: traffic, parking, exhibition space, and many more factors all maxed out during spring break for us. It showed us the need for more investment in Gage Park and the attractions that call it home. Investment that will grow our capacity as an incredible family destination. One final point I'll make is that Topeka is a very affordable destination for families. Our attractions cost a fraction of the admissions you would expect to pay in Kansas City, Omaha, Wichita, while providing a high-quality experience for our guests and our residents. The Gage Park Improvement Authority will allow us to build and improve on our already high-quality family experience in a way that will keep these admission prices low, ensuring access for as many people, residents and visitors, as we possibly can. Thank you for consideration of this, and thank you for your time today.
Questions for Sean? All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Good morning, Commissioners. Brendan Wiley, Director of the Topeka Zoo. Is your presentation still up? And I do not have prepared comments. That's either good or bad. We'll find out here in a minute. What I wanted to do was really try to listen to other people's presentations and see if I could fill in any gaps. And I'm looking for Jim's slide. Here we go. So one of the things I wanted to start with is that 58% to the Topeka Zoo and explain where that came from, because this was truly a collaborative process that got us here today. It doesn't really look collaborative. Some of you may realize that we, like Fred explained, the Topeka Zoo is an asset owned by the city of Topeka. Friends of the Zoo operates the zoo under a license and management agreement that over the 15 years of that agreement, and the number changes year to year, but the average number is City of Topeka property taxpayers fund the zoo at a level on average of $2.73 million per year. Just the property taxpayers of the City of Topeka. What that 58% accounts for is no longer receiving that funding from property taxpayers within the city limits. So the first $2.73 million of that 58% is that property tax offset, which lays the groundwork to transition away from property tax to sales tax. The zoo this year, 2022, we're on track to see about 305,000 visitations, which will be an all-time record for us. Dinosaurs were good. We also sold a lot of dinosaur stuff. Of that 305,000 people, we're estimating right at 134,000 of them will come from outside of Shawnee County. We have a visitorship usage radius that ranges from 60 to 80 miles around Topeka. When I see school buses from the western side of Johnson County, I'm taking pictures and I'm sending those to the director of the Kansas City Zoo. When I see school buses from Emporia, I'm not sure, to Emporia. The point, though, is we're a very easy to use community. It's easier to get in and out of our zoo than it is either the Kansas City Zoo or the Sedgwick County Zoo. And when you come to the Topeka Zoo, there's this beautiful park all around it. So we see people daily from a radius of 60 to 80 miles. Gage Park is special. It is truly special. We did some work this year. I mentioned that this was a collaborative process. Ugh. And the burden of this work was done, I believe, through the Parks Department Advisory Board. We can now say that we know more than 1 million people visit Gage Park annually. That number is staggering. Gage Park, I think it was Danae that said, everybody has a memory about Gage Park, and that's so true. But Gage Park is used by Northeast Kansas. And when we talk about trying to make the funding model more fair, and why parks around the country, whether it's St. Louis or Akron or Des Moines, have transitioned to sales tax, it's about the only way to invite all of the users into the funding model. And so it does become a little bit more fair. I mentioned that this was a very collaborative process, and I just want to take a minute to explain where the .2 comes from. And also want to point out that that is 0.2 of a cent. So that if someone's doing the math, you would multiply $1 times 0.002. 20 cents on $100. So where that comes from is also trying to be fair to our community. To come to the Topeka Zoo today, if you're an adult, it's going to cost $8.75. We're proud of that rate. Now, if you took our budget and divided by that 300,000 annual visitation, it cost us $20 per guest that comes to the zoo this year. Our goal is to really try to maintain a world-class zoo experience here in Topeka that is friendly, that's easy to use for less than what it costs to go to a movie. So this .2 allows us to continue to do that. It continues to keep the zoo affordable, but it does not fund the zoo. Since 2018, we've opened major infrastructure projects every other year. The real impetus behind that growth was when this community extended the half-cent countywide retailer sales tax. And a small portion of that tax, we were able to invest into those projects. We built, it's not technically true, we're going to be done with the third one, we think, at the end of September. But with those 3 projects, the community gets $19.8 million of infrastructure with $6 million of public funding support. We're able to leverage the public support dollars that we get about 3 to 1. A number of people in this room are donors of these organizations and have made that leveraging of that public funding possible. I've never seen such a community-supported zoo and park. What this community does is amazing. That point 2 helps us continue to maintain what we've started and keep this park vibrant for the future. There could be options that we haven't worked through today for a larger increment. But I think we need more time to really work through those options before we consider that. We sat down with 3 organizations, the Kansas Children's Discovery Center, the Shawnee County Parks and Rec Department, the Topeka Zoo and Conservation Center, and really strategically evaluated how this increment could benefit not just these organizations, but the entire community as a whole. I would always be happy to answer any questions you may have. If we have left any holes in our explanation, please don't hesitate to call any of us back up. We would be happy to add additional comment. With that, I'd like to thank all of you for your service, for your time this morning, and for your willingness to host this hearing.
Okay, any questions for Brendan? No. All right, thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice.
Come on up.
Okay, come on up.
My name's Joe Vining. I've been a Shawnee County resident for 37 years, Topeka resident for 5 years. I just have a comment and question. We're shifting the burden from the property tax owner to the sales tax. Has anybody come up with a figure on what the reduction, average reduction on 100,000 on a property tax owner would be for this proposal at a 0.2 level? That's all, just information.
Contained within the information is that there would be a reduction of the property taxes to the city of Topeka of approximately a little over $2 million. That was by agreement, if this was passed, is that it would be that part. But that's not a commitment from the city of Topeka that the property taxes would be reduced by that amount. They might, or they might shift that to other needs. So the answer is no.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. Seeing none. Discussion.
Excuse me, I thought you
Yeah.
were going to ask for people that wanted to speak, or I wanted to speak again.
Okay, please.
Apologize, I didn't realize that was all inclusive. My name is Carol Marple, and I am a citizen of Shawnee County. I did make some notes, and I will read them. I also made a few more notes as I was listening to the presentations of the people here. And I want to say that I believe at this time the citizens of Shawnee County should not be asked to consider any additional tax, including a sales tax. Almost every basic need that a family has, the cost has risen. Price of food, and let me tell you, as a food producer, that price is going to rise even more, especially with the world situation and the drought. Many cattle ranchers across the United States are selling all or part of their herds because they have no pasture, water, or feed for their animals. It will take years to build back those herds. Grain farmers are hemorrhaging money to plant their crops with the increase of fuel, fertilizer, chemicals, and repairs. We have no idea what it's going to cost us to heat our homes this winter. Water has already been increased. Ask the citizens of Topeka, and as a Shawnee County resident, my rural water district buys from Topeka. My water has gone up. Trash has increased, electricity, and interest. The only people celebrating interest are ones that have money on interest, and not a lot of people do. School costs. We all just put kids or grandkids back in school. We know the prices have raised there. I didn't have time to get any solid numbers, but if you listen on the news, you hear about food pantries. Their shelves are bare. More and more people have needs. There are only 24 hours in a day, and people can only work so many jobs. And when they're working 2 jobs to try to make ends meet, that generally means they neglect their family, and I don't think any of us want that. I just believe that now is not the time to propose a new tax. And having sat here and listened, I want to compliment the Discovery Center on their sound financial position. I thought that was awesome. And if you don't get this sales tax, you're going to go forward and you're going to do well. I wish we could have heard from the zoo. One of the ways that this sales tax can be put on the ballot is by the petition. If people believe in it so much, then let's have a petition. Let's get those people signing a petition and take the burden off the 3 commissioners. And I want to remind you, we talked a lot about visitors to Topeka, Shawnee County. They come maybe 1 day or 2 days, but every person in this county will pay that sales tax every day. Kids will pay this sales tax. And I think that our goal is to keep people living in this county, and we continue to raise sales tax, all our taxes. They move out and they become the visitor. They're not here paying that tax every day. And Commissioner Cook, you and I disagree on a lot of things, but I want to commend you on your statement about being mindful that sales taxes are very impactful on people with limited means. I think that was an excellent statement, and I think all of you gentlemen need to consider that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Anyone else wishing to speak? For or against?
My name is Cinda Vining, and I live in Topeka now. But as with my husband, I've been around in Shawnee County for over 30 years. Mine, again, is more of a question as his. I happen to have listened both to the Discovery Center. I volunteer at the zoo, so I know how great that organization is. So I see all these people that are really good today managing these treasures that we have for the county. My concern is they're not going to always be here, and these things get implemented and they never go away. So it's not so much that I have a problem at this point, although admittedly I was against it initially because I thought about, as our last person was speaking about, all the prices going up and everything. But can't there be a sunset clause to it that over a period of time that it definitely terminates, can be reevaluated, and then implemented again if necessary? I look at the library, and that thing goes on and on and on and on and on and never stops. And they built the library, and here they're remodeling it again, and they're doing all sorts of things. Maybe all good things, but I just think not putting a termination to the tax itself is not a fair thing to the taxpayers. So,
I had the same question, and the legislation was written as such that we cannot put a sunset on it. It would take another vote. Anyone else wishing to speak? All right. Then, should we end the public hearing and then we'll have discussion?
Motion to close public hearing.
Okay, I'll second that. The motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. We are no longer in a public hearing, so let's have discussion.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
as many have spoke, I am concerned about the rate and with the current proposal. I am concerned it is a regressive tax on sales tax. It does affect those that don't own property equally as people that do own property. So we're affecting everybody with all of our purchases, whether it's milk or vehicles or just going out for a hamburger with your family. So it does affect everybody. I understand where the Visit Topeka is coming from in that it's shifting the burden to those that are visiting to Topeka. I get where you're coming from. But one of the things that it does do is that 58% goes to the Topeka Zoo, and that is 58% that would then be paid for by the entire county, as opposed to right now, it's just supported by the city of Topeka. So it is shifting the funding of the zoo. It would no longer be the Topeka Zoo, it would be the Shawnee County Zoo. In the same way that the Shawnee County Library is not the city of Topeka Library, it's the Shawnee County Library. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm not taking a position, but it does recognize that it's the entire county supporting that zoo and not just the city of Topeka. I think it's important to note that we are not passing a sales tax. That is for the taxpayers to decide on a ballot. And whether it passes or not, that would be at the taxpayer's pleasure. So I am concerned about the proposal of the 0.35. Whether that is reduced to 0.2 as proposed to by Mr. Ledbetter or a lesser amount, I think 0.35 should be a reduced amount. So I'll end my comments there.
I agree with that. I think 0.35 is too high. I don't know. I think we've heard from other people 0.2 is enough. We've heard from other people that it's not. And so I guess that's sort of our question today is if we decide to send this to the voters, how much are we going to ask for? Commissioner Rippon, you have thoughts on that?
Yes, I think 0.2 is sufficient to start out with here and see how it goes. And like I say, the voters can change that later on if they so wish. And so no, I think 0.2 is a good starting point.
Right, and I hope that the city of Topeka would take action to lower their budget in accordance to this, since they are going to be saving a considerable amount of money. I think that Shawnee County would likely look to do something similar to that as well when we do our next budget cycle after this goes into effect, if it goes into effect. But you know, my thinking on this is that we only get so many opportunities to ask the public their opinion on things. We're not really allowed to send things to the ballot. And so when we have an opportunity to ask the general public what their opinion is, I think we should probably take action on that and just see what the will of the people is. And so Commissioner Rippon, you had mentioned 0.2. Commissioner Cook, did you have any preference on the amount?
The 0.2 is, if we use Mr. Ledbetter's numbers as being accurate, which I presume that he's done his research, that would be $4,118,000 to the zoo. If $2.2 million is paid back to the city of Topeka, that leaves the remainder of $1,918,000 for the zoo. That leaves the zoo at a deficit of approximately $300,000. So the zoo would then have $300,000 less than what they had under the City of Topeka management. No? Mr. Ledbetter?
Sorry for any misunderstanding, I might be using negative numbers, but. The zoo at 58% under the current, this is current taxes, what's being paid countywide. And these are approximate, but they're pretty accurate. I got numbers directly from working with the zoo themselves on all of these entities and the taxes. So they would receive, under this tax at 0.2%, currently $4.1 million.
Right.
They would pay back approximately 2.2 million to the city.
Right.
Leaving them 1.9 million.
Right.
So they would not have a deficit.
2.2 is less than 1.98.
Yeah, but okay. The 2.2 comes from 4.1 million.
Okay.
I'm not trying to
But, yeah.
argue.
But, okay.
So their net would be 1.9 million. And I understand these numbers were just thrown in front of you. I probably would have made the same judgment, but they do benefit. Anybody want to say?
Okay, all right.
Okay.
So, and thank you, Joe.
Are you done?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Okay, thank you, I hope.
So if memory serves me, and I didn't write down everything everybody said, but I think the zoo director, Brendan, you had mentioned, I thought it was 2.7 million was the city subsidy this year.
So the difference between Joe's number for this year and my average number is the license and management fee, or the property tax subsidy, increases over the 15-year of the contract to an average of 2.73 million. Next year, that Joe's numbers are accurate for next year.
Okay. Okay, I appreciate that. And actually, Brendan, before you run off, how many years are on the city's license agreement?
15.
Okay.
And it began in 2021.
Okay.
So we're in year 2.
All right, thank you.
So, because of, you want to proceed with 2.2, or do you wish to do it at a higher amount?
I think I'm fine with the 0.2 for now. I mean, I'm sure that they could do fantastic things with more than that, but as was mentioned by Joe Ledbetter, is that, you know, I think the will of everyone here, even the proponents, is that it passes on the ballot. And I think if we ask for any more than that, I think there's a greater possibility that it does not get passed by the voters. And so I think I'm fine with the 0.2. So I guess I'll make that motion that we trying to think how to word it. I guess the motion that we passed.
Commissioner Jim Crow?
Yes, please.
You would be approving a resolution that would go to the election office to put this matter on the ballot at .2.
Okay. So I'll make a motion that we approve a resolution that would send to the election office that this go to the ballot with 0.2%.
I'll second.
Okay, so a motion's been made by Commissioner Mays. That's been seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, can we
Yes,
call
let's take
15-minute recess?
let's take a 15-minute recess, kind of clear the room. Everybody stretch their legs a little bit.
Thank you.
Let's go.
We good? Okay, we are back in session, and I believe we are on item B2. So, Madam Clerk.
Yes, item B is commission to consider approval of resolution number 2022-65 establishing the 2023 holidays.
I would make a motion that we approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Cook. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item B3, consider appointment of Alan Mckenzie as chairman of the Shawnee County Fire District Number 4 Board due to Gary Ross resigning.
Okay, well, Chair, I'd like to recognize Gary Ross for all his time and efforts on being on the board for a number of years. Alan Mckenzie, person I'd like to appoint to replace him. Al, he used to be fire chief at Rossville, is still employed with Topeka Fire Department's battalion chief, and but he now resides in this District 4, so I think he'd be a great asset to the board. So I'm going to move that we appoint Alan Mckenzie to the Shawnee County Fire Department Board Number 4.
I'll second that. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Congratulations to Mr. McKenzie. Next item, please.
Item C, Parks and Recreation, number 1, approval is requested on the following personnel and human resource actions in order to align 32 part-time positions with Shawnee County Human Resource policies regarding employee classification, benefits coverage, and CAPERS retirement coverage.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. Yeah, I just want to emphasize what the clerk said. These are positions, intermittent positions that we currently have that by making them part-time positions, we're bringing them in line with the Shawnee County HR policy, and that's why we're here today. So I'd be happy to answer any questions about any of these positions.
Any questions for Tim?
We had a number of these people who have run out of hours. Does this take care of that situation?
Yes, that is one of the benefits.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item C2, consider approval of the request to award a bid for grass seed to Site One Landscape Company, contract C239-2022, for a total seed purchase of $57,878.75, of which $22,523.75 is to be paid from the operations budget. The revenue revolving fund will cover the balance, $35,355 for Lake Shawnee and Cypress Ridge Golf Course.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Tim Laurent, Shawnee County Parks and Recreation. This is our annual grass seed purchase, and just want to reiterate that a portion of this will be paid out of operating funds and the other will be paid out of our revolving funds for our 2 golf courses. Be happy to answer any questions.
Tim, on the golf courses, how come Forbes isn't?
Forbes actually isn't in the revolving fund. It operates out of the general fund.
Oh, okay.
So that's why.
Okay, my mistake. All right, any questions?
No.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed, motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Next item, please.
Item D, Public Works, number 1, consider approval to issue request for qualifications for engineering, design, and construction engineering services for a bridge replacement project on Northwest 78th over a tributary to Half Day Creek. Funding in full or in part will come from the county bridges portion of the 2017 to 2031 half-cent sales tax program.
Good morning, Kurt Neos, Director of Public Works. I'm here before you in our ongoing endeavors to replace substandard bridges within Shawnee County. In this case, we would like to replace the Northwest 78th Street Bridge over the tributary to Half Day Creek. It's an off-system bridge. And the first step to do that, of course, is to bring on a design consultant who will put the plans together, the bidding documents, the construction documents, and then retain that consultant for construction engineering services. This bridge was built in 1968, so it's not that very old, but unfortunately, the ensuing time has not been very kind to it. It suffers from serious rust problems. As you can see in the picture here, it's got a metal deck, which I despise. And that is the reason that we want to move forward on this bridge. We had it scheduled based on our 5-year CIP. It was scheduled for 2025. We'd like to move it up for one reason and one reason only. I have submitted this bridge for KDOT Off-System Bridge Program money, and that would be federal fiscal year 24. So if this bridge is accepted, we want to be ready to let this bridge in federal fiscal year 24, which I think starts September 1 of 2023. So this bridge, just give you some basic information. This bridge is built again in 1968, was rehabbed in 1999. It's got that metal deck, which is, in my mind, a kiss of death. It is rated poor by the National Bridge Inventory people, and it is structurally deficient. You will recall in my budget presentation, Shawnee County has been focusing on structurally deficient bridges. This is just another one of those bridges. Again, we'll pay for this either wholly or partly if the KDOT accepts this project with countywide sales tax money. Questions?
Kurt, are we putting, by approving this today, are we putting that state or federal funding in jeopardy in any way? Are they
No.
going to say, well, you're going to pay for it anyways, why would we give you money? Or-
I don't think KDOT operates that way, and quite frankly, I don't think they monitor these commission meetings close enough for that to be an issue.
Let's hope not, right?
I'm sorry.
Okay, any questions for Kurt other than that?
I move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kurt. Next item, please.
Item E, Department of Corrections, number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-242-2022, a multi-year agreement with Armor Health of Shawnee County LLC for medical and mental health services to inmates and juveniles for a first-year amount of $4,280,000 to be paid from the fiscal year 2023 detention budget.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. This item began in January when you authorized us to go out on an RFP to have medical mental health services start in January of 23. And we had 5 bids, and we went through the process with those 5 and winnowed it down, and we finally landed on Armor Health Services. And this agreement represents a 4-in-2 agreement, 4 years guaranteed, and then we have 2 one-year options after that. So I'd be happy to stand for any questions you have about the contract or the price.
Questions for Tim? Okay, I'll make a motion that we approve then.
Second.
Motion's been made by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. Next item, please.
Item E2, consider authorization and execution of contract C-243-2022, a memorandum of understanding with Family Peace Initiative for cognitive work, group work with community corrections juvenile clients during the state fiscal year 2023 for an amount not to exceed $33,500 to be paid from the state grant funds.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Phelps, Department of Corrections. This is the second year we have been using this program. It has proven to be very effective with the juvenile probation population. It's based upon trauma-informed care, and we wanted to continue it on, and it's being paid for out of state juvenile grant funds.
Okay, any questions?
I'd move for approval.
I'll second. Motion's been made by Commissioner Rippon, seconded by Commissioner Mays. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you,
Tim.
Commissioners.
Next item, please.
Item F, Facilities Management. Number 1, consider authorization and execution of contract C-244-2022 with Seni Company for time extension for the renovation project at the Administrative Services Building, 707 Southeast Quincy Street, with no additional costs associated with this extension.
Good morning, Commissioners. Nelda Henning, Director of Facilities Management. As the clerk had mentioned, this is a date extension for the contract. They're asking for 39 additional days. This is due to inability to get the insides of the breaker panels for the electrical. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
This is the problem all over. I was talking to an architect yesterday who was working on I think it was in Wetmore, Kansas, and they're renovating a school. The exact same problem. They couldn't get the guts for electrical panel. Of course, school starts now, so they were using a rehabbed panel just to limp through till the new one came in. But so
They have 7 panels in the building. They have the interior for 2 of the 7. So until they get the guts for the other 5, we can't go on full power. And without full power, we can't occupy the building.
All right. Any other questions?
Motion to approve the execution of the authorization to extend.
second.
Okay, motion's been made by Commissioner Cook, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nelda. Next item, please.
Item 5, public comment.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak today? Seeing none. Next item.
Item 6, administrative communications.
Any administrative communications? There's one.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jake Fisher, Shawnee County Elections Office. Couple things. Just want to let the Commissioners know that the recount that we've been tasked with accomplishing is moving forward, and we anticipate that we will be able to have you gentlemen out to meet as the Board of County Canvassers tomorrow at 4:30 to be able to approve that recount. And also, we had our post-election public test of our equipment set for this coming Monday at 9 a.m. Since the recount was not anticipated, and to be prepared for that test, it takes our staff a couple days to do that. We're going to move that test from Monday morning at 9 a.m. to Wednesday the 24th at 9 a.m. at our office. And once again, as a public test, the public is, of course, invited to come and watch the testing of the equipment take place.
Okay. Thank you. Any other administrative communications? All right, Commissioner Rippon.
You know, I'm going to participate in the Capitol Paddle this Saturday.
Oh, that's fun.
And there's an armada of like 50 or more kayaks and canoes going to head down the Kansas River. So I'll report back after.
All right. All right. Commissioner
Nothing to
Cook?
report here.
Okay, just to reiterate what Jake said, though, we are going to have a public meeting canvas, I guess you could say, to certify the recount Friday at 4:30. Assuming that it's completed then. If not, we do have a backup time, if I'm not mistaken, on Saturday morning.
Yes.
In case something goes wrong, right? Okay.
Does the county clerk have to be there? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm thinking Friday at 4:30.
You gotta be there early,
Or
Cindy.
Saturday morning. Jake, we're gonna talk after this. Jimmy Christmas, they have a better timing than that.
Okay. This, I believe it's statutorily required.
I
so-
know, it's like, but
Ms. Beck, Mr. Fisher said he'd buy you water at the Blind Tiger.
thank you very much. What a guy, what a guy, what a guy.
Oh, yeah, we also have our public hearing on the budget revenue neutral rate on Monday night. That's at 5:30. Okay. That's all I have. So we'll, next item, please.
Item 7, executive session.
We do have a need for executive session, so I will move that we go into executive session for a period not to exceed 30 minutes for the following reasons. Both are to discuss personnel matters of non-elected personnel. Specifically, we'll do 15 minutes for the planning department and 15 minutes for Parks and Rec. And then also for consultation with an attorney for the public body or agency, which would be deemed privileged in the attorney-client relationship for both of those reasons. No action is expected following this executive session. We'll begin at 10:35. That's for 30 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, can we
sir.
start it at 10:45?
10:45? Yep, absolutely. Let's do it at 10:45. We'll be in executive session at 10:45. We're at recess till then.
I need a second and
Yeah.
Second.
So, okay, motion by Commissioner Mays, seconded by Commissioner Rippon. Those in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion passes 3-0. All right, we're back from executive session. No action was taken, so we're adjourned.